Welcome at Pizza and More. How do you think about a pizza dough which is a bit more healthy? Yeah, I'm Jürgen and we make today a pizza dough again with Poolish. However, this video will be a different one than the Poolish video I made some months ago. We will change the flour in this Poolish to make, or in this pizza dough, simply to make it more healthy. For the Poolish, we use a Typo1 flour, which is a bread flour, and then for the main dough we use Integrale flour, which is then the whole wheat flour. And because in this kind of flour there are far more minerals and far more fiber, it's also more healthy. This kind of flour has also an additional advantage due to the reason that the mills are milling the whole corn or the whole wheat. There is not that much waste produced, so because all the peels are in the flour, so it is a bit better from an overall perspective. Our dough will have a leavening time in total for around 48 hours, which means we have the Poolish with 24 hours and then the main dough also with 24 hours. Our pre-dough has some advantages. The first, the dough is a little bit weaker, so it's easier to work with. Then the dough is far more elastic, which helps us when we stretch the pizza. And of course, Poolish produces lots of taste. Fantastic taste, if you would ask me. It is a bit, this kind of taste from the Poolish goes a bit into the direction of being sour. So let's say like a bread with sourdough. We make today the dough with a 50% Poolish from the whole dough scene, and if you want to have it not that sour, then maybe use only 40 or 30%. We let the Poolish raise today, or this time, totally at room temperature, because if we let it raise at room temperature, also it is not that sour as if you would let it raise in the fridge. The total hydration in our dough will be 70%. But you don't be afraid regarding 70% of hydration, because this kind of flour, so the bread flour and the whole wheat flour, is due to the high amount of peels which is inside of the flour, able to take over really lots of water. Making Poolish is really very easy, very simple, and it will be done in a few minutes. You will see it soon. The Poolish is also absolutely fantastic if you have no mixer, if you have to work by hand, because the Poolish is really very easy to be prepared by hand, of course, and then the main dough is the same easy because the Poolish is that liquid. And now I would say we start directly with the Poolish. We have here already the ingredients for our Poolish. The ingredients at all will then again last for 3 pizza from or with a diameter of 30 to 33 centimeters. By the way, it's not necessary to write everything down, because you will find again all the recipe and all the procedure in the video description. I have here 250 grams of Typo1, so bread flour. This flour here has a very high baking strength and has 15% of protein. Here I have 250 grams of cold water, and I have here a very small amount of dry yeast. I have here 0.05 grams of dry yeast. If you want to use fresh yeast, then please use 0.15 grams. The reason why we have that small amount of yeast is because we let the dough raise, or the Poolish raise, at room temperature, and therefore we really need only this very little amount of yeast. To create the Poolish we need only a bowl. We fill our water into the bowl, followed by the flour and the yeast, and then with a whisk we mix everything up. Then we put everything down, which sticks to the sides of the bowl. And then we close the lid of the bowl and we let the Poolish rest for 24 hours at room temperature. The Poolish developed absolutely fantastically, and now it's time to make the main dough. The ingredients we need for our main dough are, of course, our well-developed Poolish. I have here 250 grams of whole wheat flour, so Integrale. Then I have 100 grams of cold water, which leads then to a hydration of 70%. 15 grams fine sea salt and 0.6 grams of dry yeast. If you want to use fresh yeast, then please use 1.8 grams. For preparing the main dough, we pour at first the water into the bowl of the machine, and as next we add the Poolish. Then we switch on our mixer for a short while and mix the Poolish with the water. It's not required that the Poolish is dissolved totally, only a bit mixed up. Then we add the whole amount of flour and also the yeast. And then we continue mixing for around 5 minutes. And when everything is mixed up well, then we add the salt and then we continue mixing until the window test works. But here we have to be a bit more careful because we have Poolish, we have whole wheat flour, which means the kneading time until the dough is ready might not be totally 20 minutes. My dough had now a kneading time of around 12 minutes and I think the dough is now ready. I covered my hands already with water because then the dough is not sticking that heavily to the fingers. You also could use olive oil. This would also work. Then I take a piece of dough, I shape a ball and then I try to stretch it. And as you already can see, if you are able to stretch it and you almost can look through the dough, then the dough is ready and I take it now out onto my counter. If you have the dough then in front of you on your counter, it's time to shape a nice dough ball. Therefore, again, I have wet hands. I lift the dough from the left and from the right. I stretch it here and fold it over. I do exactly the same, put it back onto the counter, stretch it and fold it. And I do this sometimes. And then you already can see how strong the dough is, and then you turn the dough a little bit around. Through this turning also the surface will be stretched. Then I pull it, I turn it and I pull it, and you can see here already air in the dough. And then if you have a nice shaped dough ball, we take a dough ball box, we place the dough in this box, and of course it's required to close the lid. This box may stay now for around 1 to 2 hours at room temperature, and then it comes into the fridge for around 10 to 12 hours. Now after the bulk fermentation, it's time to bring the dough into the ball fermentation. Therefore we shape now our pizza balls. And as I already said, this dough remains or is for 3 pizza, and now we shape the pizza balls. Here we see now our dough. I think the dough looks pretty good. I remove now the dough out of the box, and of course the dough came now really directly out of the fridge, so there was no room temperature time between taking it out and now. Now it's important to shape 3 pieces with the same weight. My 3 pizza balls have now a weight of 280-ish grams, and now it's time to shape the nice dough balls. For shaping nice dough balls we have different possibilities. The first one is we take it in our hand and then we push here all the dough from the side towards the center. And so we already strengthen here the surface, and you can see the dough is not sticking. We press everything into the center, then we have to close our dough balls, and if they are nice closed, then the first one is ready. The second possibility is we do that so-called stretch and fold, which means we take our small dough balls, stretch it and fold it always over, and then also for this we have to guarantee that the bottom is closed, and then this one is ready as well. The last possibility is that we shape in the first instance a ball, then we turn this, we pull it, we turn it, we pull it, and we repeat this several times. Until we have also here a strong surface. Then we have to guarantee the dough ball is closed, and we are ready. These are now the 3 dough balls in the box. I close again the lid and then bring them back into the fridge. 4 to 6 hours before baking, I take the dough balls out again of the fridge, and then they can remain the rest of the time at room temperature to get more elasticity, to raise again, and to relax even a bit more. If you are using mozzarella which is in this salty water, then please open now this bag, pour out the water, cut the mozzarella into slices. Typically the mozzarella is used in slices, but you can also cut it into sticks like fior di latte, and then put it into a sieve and let it drain. You will see there comes lots of water out of this cheese. Put the cheese back into the fridge, and then when we are baking our pizza we have a nice dry cheese. The leavening time of our dough is now finished, and now we are starting with creating our pizza. All the toppings are already prepared, and also the oven is preheated to 450 degrees Celsius, and now we make our pizza. To take the pizza ball out of the box properly, it's very important to put enough semula on top of the ball. Then we release with the spatula the dough ball where it is attached to other dough ball or even to the side of the box, and then we push here some semula under, we push the spatula under, and we lift it out. And now we flip this dough ball several times around in the semolina. We take it out to the counter, and then we make a nice round shape. And now we stretch this pizza made from whole wheat flour and bread flour in the same way like we shape always a Neapolitan pizza. We press all the air from the center towards the crust, and we leave around 1.5 to 2 centimeters crust over. If you feel, oh, there is the dough sticks somewhere, then put semula to this place and then it stops sticking. And here you can see how elastic this dough is, and this is definitely also a result of the Poolish. This pizza has now not its final size. The final size will be shaped as soon it's on the peel. The first we add now is the tomato sauce. If you want to know a bit more about the tomato sauce, it's really only San Marzano tomatoes, tiered by hand and then added per can. So one can has 400 grams, and then I added 4 grams of fine sea salt. If you want to know a bit more about the tomatoes and everything, please have a look in the video description. There I will link a video. The next we add here now is some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. Then I add some leaves of fresh basil. And mozzarella or fior di latte in my case, or even each other cheese you want. And yes, today I make not only margherita, now I add some spicy salami or pepperoni. And some mushrooms. Then of course some olive oil. And the pizza is ready to be launched into the oven. Therefore I take the pizza peel, put some semolina on it, I lift the dough and then I push the peel under. And now it's time to shape the pizza to its final size, and if the pizza is not really round, to shape a round pizza. And now the pizza is ready for the oven. And here comes the pizza out of the oven. And now finally I will add some fresh leaves or some leaves of fresh basil. And the pizza is done. And now I will cut into this pizza so that we see if it's really full of air. And here you can see also a whole wheat pizza can have lots of air pockets and can be absolutely airy and outside crunchy. And now I can taste this nice pizza. At first I taste something from the center. Fantastic. Now the crust. And also the crust is very delicious. This comes on one hand from the whole wheat flour, which definitely has lots of taste and lots of nice flavor. And of course our Poolish produces also a nice taste, and in combination the Poolish and the whole wheat flour, it's not only healthy, it's also very delicious. If you like my video, it would be fantastic if you would subscribe my channel, and then we see us also in the next video. Ciao!